Hello, it's been a minute since I spoke to a camera. I might be a little rusty at it. So welcome. Thanks for checking out this video. Today I just thought, I just wanted to spill some wisdom, like an old woman. I think I'm at that stage of life where I'm no longer afraid to call myself an old woman. Because you know what? I've always been an old woman in my spirit. But I'm a child at my heart. Age, I guess, is really a concept. What really matters is what you feel inside. And I always felt like an old person, even at a very young age. But at the same time, I think I still have that childlike curiosity and imagination that puts me at an advantage, that helps me see life with a more creative lens, with a more fun lens, Like there's still some kind of magic in this world. I think that makes me feel more optimistic and creatively inspiring. Anyway, for today, I'm gonna spill some wisdom. I think these are some of the things that I've been thinking about lately. I journal a lot, and then it just got me thinking some of the things, as I get closer to my 30s now. There are some things that I realized, and I wish that someone would have told me these things when I was younger. I unfortunately cannot go and time travel, so what I can do instead is just tell these things to those people who might get something out of it. I'm not an expert at life yet, but I think I reflect a lot, and that just gives me so many perspectives, and that's why you should listen to me. There's my pitch. It's for you to decide if you want to stay on this video or if you want to switch to something else. Totally free to do that. So one thing that I've really learned about, and this is a very recent learning. I have been a very intense person my whole life, right? And I've taken life seriously for the most part because life made me that way. I had to grow up really early on, take care of a lot of things, not financially, but emotionally, because I was the big sister. So I think it naturally just made me someone who's very serious and structured. I grew up with my grandparents, so that just made me a little bit more disciplined than the kids my age. I never learned to be a brat. I was never that troublemaking kid. I just was very obedient and really a good girl, my whole life, I think. Very disciplined, right from the start. It just made me be this person who's constantly taking life seriously. When I look back at all of it now, I feel like there were so many instances needed to just chill the F down, I didn't need to be so serious at things. So one thing that I will say is that I think the more you find humor in life, the better it will make it for you and those around you. I think learning to laugh at yourself, at situations in life, especially at treacherous situations, at situations where life is, not going as per your plan, just to have a sense of humor is really essential. Where I feel like people just kind of blur the lines is having a sense of humor doesn't mean that you take nothing seriously, make fun of people, or you make fun of situations where you should have been sensitive instead. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying that learning find humor where life gets down and draggy. When you fall, instead of complaining how bad it has been, why is it always me, instead of saying those things, just learning to laugh at it and say, well, I fell. Make some kind of joke, just lighten the mood a little bit. I think it is so essential to. Life is really short, and what I've realized lately is that I don't want to spend the rest of my life just complaining about things, being pessimistic, because I am so easily inclined to go that direction. I think a part of me is excessively mental and very logical, and so it tends to make everything really realistic. That just takes away all the fun, the essence of life, the joy. When I tap into that side of my personality, it just makes life very dull and dreary. There's nothing to look forward to, I just go into this black hole where nothing makes sense at all. So instead of focusing on that sort of energy, especially when life gets hard, that's when you really need that perspective. That's when you need to lighten up a little bit. So I realized this through certain people in my life. I think to be that happy-go-lucky person, I think you really need to have that sort of mindset where you're just you are not afraid of looking like a fool sometimes, and laughing at yourself. I am naturally inclined towards people that have sense of humor, okay? And sense of humor is not just about being funny. Finding fun in situations, finding the good side, looking at the good side and just cracking up jokes, or, making it look like not a big deal, and, just having that very positive, optimistic approach to things. It is so essential to live life laughing. I think laugh is so important. I felt that when I'm laughing a lot, when I'm with people who make me laugh a lot, I'm such a different person. I'm such a good person. That's how I want to be for the rest of my life. Like, I don't want to spend my life just being sad. And I think I've done that for the most part of my early life, teenage years. I was very emo. So I think I've lived that life and I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to live a very lighthearted, fun life. And I know it's not always going to be that way. I know that life will take its twist and turn, and there are situations when you cannot be that person, but it's okay. Like, as long as you're trying, right? As long as you're making an active effort, and also understanding the fact that it's not always possible to be in that mood, but you know, the least you can do is try, and just basically not taking life so seriously is what I'm trying to say. Okay, the next thing that I think a lot of people need to hear is like, beauty is overrated. It is so overrated. Okay, I know there's this thing called pretty privilege, and I've seen it. Like, I've seen it through certain situations and instances in my life where I felt like that person had an opportunity over someone else just because they looked a certain way. I've seen that and it's so obvious. I get it, we're all visual, and so we're naturally inclined towards something that is more attractive and beautiful. It's just like in our nature, but I feel like it's just not, it's so temporary. It's very superficial as it is, and the amount of emphasis and effort there is in beauty, especially with like the social media, the entertainment industry, how we put so much on focus people's appearances and the way that they look, it just puts such a burden, and I think especially the youngsters, vastly the female population. You know, it's just, there's so much pressure on the girls growing up. I felt that when I was growing up, I felt like I was not an attractive person, period. I was a little bit slightly over what was stereotyped as like the normal weight. I was a little bit chubby, and I think that just like got to me because that was made very obvious in so many situations, you know, in my own family, around me, in my friendships, the guys that I was surrounded by. You know, it was very obvious that I was not like the attractive one in the room. So, and that really did something to me. Like, I don't know, I didn't care about it much for the most part of my life because I hated the fact that someone would put me under the highlight just because I looked a certain way. I didn't find it to be important. Like, I wasn't paying attention to beauty a whole lot growing up. I wasn't interested in makeup. I wasn't interested in dressing up, like none of that. It only happened when I stepped into high school. High school years are the years when people are like actively trying to like date, and you know, attractive people are given so much attention and they're just like so popular, and seeing all that, you just want to be one of them. You know, you just want to be seen, you just want to be like every other teenager, you want to feel like you're someone important, right? So I think beauty was so much emphasized in those eras of my life, and I couldn't care less until I also was like, I became this teenager interested in guys and I had crushes and stuff like that. So I just wanted to like be liked and be seen by them. So I think in my attempts, I just tried to be the girly girl because that seemed like that was what was selling. So I was trying so hard to do that, but failing at it because I knew that I wasn't being true to myself. What I've realized is important over the years is that I think beauty is all about how you feel about yourself. Like, I don't think it's about other people as much as it is about yourself. It's more internal. And what I mean by that is that I think you need to learn to be comfortable within your skin. That means several things. Okay, the first thing is, do you like what you see in the mirror? And if you don't, why? Why do you not like certain things that you see? What would you change about yourself? I'm not trying to say that, oh, you should start looking at yourself in the mirror and identify things that you do not like and go change it through some sort of like, I don't know. And I'm not saying that go and change yourself. I'm just saying take a deep look at yourself in the mirror. Identify things that you don't like. Find out the root causes of it. Because sometimes a lot of the things comes from a certain place. Like maybe growing up we've been told that, oh, your legs are weird, they look weird, you just have certain kind of legs that don't look attractive, so you get really insecure about it. Certain things like that. I think a lot of the times the things that we hold on to, or at least the things that we are insecure about, comes from other people, and we don't realize that until we take a deeper look at it. I used to feel conscious about a lot of things about my body. You know, as I said, like growing up I was a chubby kid, and so you know, I was very insecure about my weight for a really long time, and so I did like radical steps towards it. Like, you know, I participated in like all those fad diets, you name it. You know, I did several things. None of that was healthy, and I was realizing I was coming from a place of insecurity rather than trying to improve myself or really loving myself for who I was, and then trying to put in effort to make myself better. But it was more like I'm just trying to appease to other people. I'm just please other people in this process by changing certain things about myself, and the things that I've been pointed out as quote unquote not attractive about myself, I was just actively trying to change those things. So I think like the key is to understand where your insecurities lie, where they come from, because most of the times they come from somewhere. So I think it's so important to understand that. I think beauty is internal. Everyone is beautiful, I feel, in some way. It's a cliche, I know, when I say this, but hear me out, okay? I feel like beauty is a form of expression. I find beauty very similar to art. Like, you know, you can look at an art and you can not find it impressive, but someone else will look at it and they will find it spectacular and they will buy it, you know? I feel like beauty is as subjective as an art. There are a lot of people who will find you attractive or beautiful, and there will be a certain amount of people who will not like find you attractive. And it also depends on so many other things, like biases, where you come from, what kind of culture you come from, what things in your culture are considered attractive. And sometimes it's just you can't exactly put a finger on it. There are certain times and situations where you just look at a person and they are not like your usual types that you consider attractive, but you still find something about them just like, you know, is magnetic. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a lot of factors involved, and it's not important to put so much emphasis on it. I think it's just a waste of time, like just trying to, you know, do all several things like just to like fit that conventional stereotype of what beautiful means, because it's just like it's so subjective and it differs from one person to the other. Actually, this is my message to the young girls out there. Like, I don't know if I'm not even sure if I'm gonna touch that demographic because, you know, it's really hard to get Gen Zs out on this platform, but by any chance, if you're seeing this, I just want to say that, you know, you are beautiful in your own way. And I know it's a cliche, I know people say that all the time, it's like one of the favorite lines, and like you hear that about in like songs and self-love and whatnot, but it's really is the truth, because, you know, it's very internal. The more you feel confident in yourself, I swear to God, nothing is better or more beautiful and attractive than someone who's very confident in what they are, what they look like. You know, there's something about confidence that really shines through your personality, that just shines through and just makes you look more attractive than you are. So I will just say that don't try to fit the conventional don't try to fit into that conventional mold of what beautiful is. It's just a waste of time, because you need to learn to embrace your uniqueness in whatever ways. You know, learn to love your quirks and everything that makes you, you know, whatever that is. Maybe you have big ears, maybe you have a big nose, I don't know. You know, learn to embrace all of it. The more confident you are in your quirks and the way that you are in your body, it will shine through, and trust me, it will just make you look 10 times more attractive, and you really don't need to try to like please anybody. You'll please 5 people, you won't please 10 of them. So it's just a waste of time. Just please one person, please yourself. That's the only thing I'll say. Okay, moving on from beauty. I know it just took us some time, but you know, I just had to say things I had to say. Travel, travel, travel. Make friends outside your usual conventional friend groups. I had always known, like this my whole life, that I would go on live in some other country. I don't know where it was gonna be, but I had this innate feeling or this instinct that I will be living far away from my own home country, and I did. And you know, and I always was so interested and invested in like other culture and people, and I've always wanted to get to know them more personally. One thing that I've learned is that the world is such a big place. There's so many people of different backgrounds and culture, speaking different languages, eating different food. There's so much to learn. But at the same time, I think the more you learn about every one of them, you will realize that everybody is so similar in their hearts. Like, we're not that different. It's it's weird. Like, the more I communicate with people, the more I interact, I just realize that, oh my goodness, like everyone has just like so many, we are basically the same people. We all have grown up differently, but there are some things that are always going to be parallel to our lives. Like, you know, the stories are somehow similar in the ways, like, you know, how we were grown up in like our childhood years, like the same kind of things. We want the same kind of things out of life. You know, we've all dealt through similar issues with our parents. It's uncanny how, you know, you think that the world is going to be so different, and someone coming from a different background is going to be contrasting to your life. It's scary how there are so many similar things. It just tells something about humanity in general. Like, I'm not trying to be like too altruistic here, but I really feel like at the core of it all, we're just human beings, and that's like, people just forget that all the time. Like, we're just human beings, but you know, we're just like made of the same kind of things. We have same kind of composition in our bodies. Maybe we're just like a little bit different, but you know, inside, really at the gist of it, we're basically humans, like, you know, sharing the same kind of experiences, maybe a little bit different in the forms that it happens, but you know, essentially we're pretty much the same. Also, like, travel is such a big part. I feel like, you know, you can never learn enough by staying at one place, one neighborhood your entire life. I think there's so much of world to see, and not just to see, but I think there's so much to experience, and then you learn about a culture. The more you travel, the more you spend some time getting to know a country, you know, a community, the more you learn that, oh my goodness, like all the things that I've learned all these years of my life, they're just like not true at all. You just realize that there are so many things that you have had your biases on, had a certain perspective on, but they are just like not really true, because they all differ from like places to places. And especially when you go and get to know the country up front and personally, that's when you realize like, oh wait, like I just didn't know about this thing about this country. I always thought that this country was a certain way, but I'm here now and I'm interacting with all these people, and all these things that I've been hearing in the media, the TV, is not actually true. You know, you get to learn so much. But really, the books that you should be learning about the world, to getting to know the world, is by just traveling. It's like you cannot get that from anywhere else. You have to go to a place to really learn about the place. It's a really unique way to like learn about the similarities of sharing this experience as a human being in this world, as well as learning the differences that exist within two different countries of the same continent. You know, just like learning about the nuances of like culture and like food and languages. It's just such a beautiful experience. I cannot stress this enough. I personally feel like I was made for doing this. I've yet to travel a lot of places, but I still, from my experience so far, I just feel like I've evolved so much just by communicating with people from across backgrounds. It has made me more open-minded, more flexible, more adaptable to like people and situations. And I just feel like all my years of, you know, learning in school and college, whatnot, is nothing compared to what I've learned over the years, just like spending time in this country and like interacting with people from all sorts of backgrounds. So great learning experience that everyone should definitely do to just like expand their minds, quite literally. So highly encourage that. When I was growing, I remember I was a loner by heart. I used to bribe my sister to like just get out of the room and leave me alone because I wanted to like just play by myself. I grew up in a joint family, so people were surrounding me all the time. Like, there were people everywhere I go. You know, it was a big house, and everywhere you go, there was not a single room in that house where there would be no one. You know, that was very hard to find. And so I would like literally bribe my sister to get out of our room, bribe her to like go away, come back like in an hour or so that I could just spend some time. Like, just imagine, like during those time, I don't know, I would be like imagining things. I would be either creating something, writing something, playing it out all by myself. I don't know, I just needed that moment to myself, and even as a kid. But I think when I'm looking back at that in retrospect now, I just feel like that's something that I don't think we are like encouraged as a society. People are not encouraged to like take some time out to yourself, like spend some time yourself, investing in yourself. What people don't understand is like, first person that you need to actively take care for is you yourself. People, especially like coming from a South Asian culture, I think that is not something that you really, it's like very apparent in our culture. Like, our culture is not individualistic like American culture, right? So people are automatically like inclined towards community, helping out communities, families, and that's what most people live for and are contribute most of the time towards. And so we are not really taught about, you know, investing in yourself, self-love, self-care. Like these are not the things that you will find common or talked about in South Asian households. So I came from that kind of culture. I wasn't taught those things, but I've always been such an individualistic person. Like I felt guilty for like trying to invest in myself, trying to like spend time on myself, like buying myself something. Like those are the things that are not considered generally good because they are labeled selfish. And like, that is so important as a person, especially in South Asian communities, especially for women. Like we are not given that, I think, that room or time to like invest in ourselves. And whenever someone does that, it's immediately frowned upon, right? I feel like the more time you spend with yourself, the more time you invest in yourself, the more care and love you pour to yourself always comes out in so many different ways for other people, you know. And I think there's also this fine line where you can become very self-indulgent, that you forget that other people exist. But I think it comes with like good reflection, you know. Self-reflection is very important in all these steps, you know. You have to actively understand where that fine line is. And there are many instances in one's life, I think people have to go through such situations where I believe that, you know, even though there are people around you, in some way you will find yourself isolated, or you will find maybe like emotionally you will find that there's no one to depend on, or maybe financially you'll find that there's no one reliable around you. I think in those situations, if you become overly reliant on other person, your family, siblings, friends, partners, for anything, right? For be it financial, mostly emotional support, become overly reliant on someone else, I think you will end up being unhappy and also making that person unhappy, because you are constantly expecting that person to fill something in you that you cannot fill for yourself. While in that process, there's a high chance that, you know, you will get disappointed by the other person because they are not you, so they will not be able to understand that void in you completely because it's you. Do you know what I'm saying? So while you're trying to like fill that void inside of you through other person, and the other person doesn't meet that criteria in some way or the other, they don't fully, like, even if they are trying, they don't understand it, like, and then you just get disappointed. You end up having complaints, you fight, the void within you, or anything that you are not fulfilled, it has to be filled by you. You know, you have to fill your own cup, quite literally. You cannot expect someone else to do that. You need to learn what is the thing that is making you unhappy, what is the thing that makes you happy. You need to understand your own trigger. The journey of knowing oneself is really long, and there's so many layers to it. And if I start talking about it, I'm gonna be here forever, so I won't do that. But I will just say that learn to spend some time by yourself. Take yourself out on solo dates, like go out for coffee, read a book by yourself, you know, take a day off, you know, go on, like, I don't know, a hike by yourself. Be careful though, like, be safe and everything, but do things by yourself. Learn to do things alone. You don't always will enjoy it. There's not always gonna be a moment where you'll come out of it and say like, oh my goodness, I had such a good time with myself. Like, trust me, I have spent so much of my time alone that there are many times I'm just like frustrated with myself. I'm like, I am done with you. Like, I am bored by you. Like, I need to bring somebody else in because this is boring. You know, there are many times when I feel that way too, but I think what I've realized is like all through this process, there's gonna be highs and lows, and not every time it's gonna be a romantic, you know, fun, high-spirited experience that you'll come out of, and that's completely okay. But I think it is so important to take that time out and to understand like what you are like. You know, do you like yourself enough to like be able to spend time with yourself? And there are days when you're not gonna like yourself, and that's totally okay. I think that there needs to be some sort of acceptance as well, and that you have to keep your expectations a little bit low. So, but at the same time, just making efforts, it's really essential. The more you spend time with yourself, the more reliable you are within yourself, to yourself, for your own emotions, I think the better you will be towards the other person. My strategy is make myself happy so I can keep everyone else around me happy. If I'm not happy, there's no way I can make anyone around me happy. Moving on, movement, physical activity, dancing, fitness, all of this thing. I was in no way an adventurous, physically like fit, active, high energetic person. You know, as I said, I was a very like quiet, reserved, very like low-key kind of a kid, and also a teenager. Like, I wasn't like that high energetic, boisterous kid at all. You know, I just didn't have that in me. Turns out that, you know, there was so much pent-up energy that I didn't realize I had. until much later. I learned over the years is that that's the reason why I was constantly like mad at little things, you know, mad at people, and you know, just would come out as like bursts of anger. It wasn't always great. So yeah, I had quite the temper even at a young age, and I think it was all because of those pent-up energy that I wasn't giving it out. And it was over the years while I was like starting like my physical fitness journey, when I was like, you know, when I used to be black, but I used to be a chubby girl. It became a thing to like just lose weight because that's what my initial goal was, but then eventually it just became something more mental, and just made me feel so good about myself. I used to feel so refreshed and more energetic and like just really good in my body. It's a huge part of my life right now. I don't think I can not be physically active. Like I need to move. I love movement. I love moving around. I love dancing. I've always loved dancing. I think that was the one thing that I've always constantly loved. Just learn to be active. I think life is short to be not living healthy, and it shouldn't be an obsession, an unhealthy obsession in a way that, oh, I'm trying to lose weight, I'm trying to look a certain way. It's not about that. I think it's more about living an active, healthy lifestyle. And I think, you know, the more you move, like the better mood you will be in. So, you know, just start small. Take a walk, go outside in the nature, be outside a little bit, like, you know, go for a hike, go for a little run, and, you know, mix it up with some music, and, you know, take some dance classes, do some yoga. There are so many things you can get yourself into. So just find what interests you and really like spend some time like just being physically active. The amount of happiness that oxytocin that releases, it's a real thing. I'm not even making this up. If you look up, you will understand like there's some level of dopamine that you get from any exercise. There's some level of high that you get. So why don't you chase that? Like, you know, why don't we get high from like a good workout, or like putting some energy into on the treadmill, or, you know, out like just going on a walk and then get something out of it. The way that it makes you feel at the end of the day, that is what truly matters. And I think it's very important for me, and I would tell you the same thing. So quality over quantity. I think this is one thing that I've learned over my life is, you know, I've always loved smaller friend groups. I've never wanted to be a part of like a bigger friend group. I've never wanted like many friends around me. I've always had like one or two best friends my whole life, and that's how I was growing up. So I remember like growing up with my sister was quite the opposite. Like she would have like several friends. I wasn't like that. I think I just had very small niche of friends, and I always like chose to hang out with like one or two people. And so at one point I used to think like maybe I should have more friends, because I think that's how it should be, right? That's how you are seen as more I don't know, accomplished in some way, in socially. But what I realized is that is just like, you know, that's how we think like growing up, you know, especially in our 20s. We generally consider that the more friends you have, the more friends in number you have, the better look it is on you. But what kind of person are you spending your time with? Do they make you happy at all? What do you feel in their company? More people doesn't always equal to having a great time, or doesn't always promise that you're having the best time of your life. I've seen like bigger groups often have like a lot of drama going on. Not saying that this is true for every other big group, but most of the times it is. It's so important to look, you know, towards the quantity over quality, and it's not just for friendship groups, but also romantic partners. We are rushing all the time to like get into relationships, you know, have more partners, but you're always giving so much energy in every relationship that you pursue, be it friendship or like a romantic relationship. There's always a certain level of energy that you're putting out, you know, into it. And so I think you have to be careful about who you choose to hang out with, like who do you choose to spend your energy on. And I don't think it's, you know, it's good to spend your energy in a reckless way. Learn to preserve your energy and spend it in the right places with the right kind of people. I don't think we are taught that quite often. I think people focus a lot on quantity instead of quality, but it is important to understand what makes you happy, what kind of people make you happy, what kind of people are making you feel like sad or like not good about yourself. A friend group tells a lot about yourself. Over the years, I've realized this about myself. I've been drawn to people who are very optimistic, who are fun-loving, have some sort of sense of humor, and are reliable. Really look for those qualities. I've outgrown friendships that do not share the same kind of values. I was like, giving in so much of my energy and time into something that I did not, identify with, and I didn't share values with, and there were always so many conflicts and contrasts, and I tried to like shove it under the rug, not my style, but I did that just because I thought that the friendship was something I needed to preserve, not knowing that it wasn't like really fulfilling me as a person. It wasn't making me feel seen. And once I realized that, and once I realized what kind of people really identify with me, and like the old friendships, like the people that generally make you feel good, like no matter whatever happens, you can hang out, just get a cup of coffee and it's gonna be good. Hang out with those kind of people. Hang out with people who make you happy. Hang out with people who are gonna be there for you, and do the same in return. Like you cannot expect certain things without doing your bare minimum. I think you also need to put consistent efforts, and it goes, the same applies for romantic relationships too. Like pursue relationships or people that genuinely make you feel good about yourself, that are going to be there for you, that share your values, have a similar approach to life. And it doesn't matter if they have different personalities, they come from a different culture, they speak a different language. Those things really don't matter to me, I think, at this point. What matters to me is like, do they identify with my soul? Do I feel good about them? How do I feel in their company? Those are the things I look for. Pick your friend wisely. The next thing that I wanted to advise you guys on is that take risks. Challenge yourself. The more we stay in our comfort zones, the more we will be accustomed to stay within it. It's so important to take challenges once in a while to, just like see where you are at, test your capabilities, to just see how far you can go. Like just grow as a person. I think it is so important. One thing that I've learned over the years is that staying stagnant or like staying in one place forever or being the same person your entire life is not great. Like if you want to live a life, that is full with experiences that you can look back on and be really proud of, I think it's so important to like go out of your comfort zone, to take risks. It's safe to say that I kind of grew up in a very protective environment for the most part of my life. So a lot of my life was just like being scared to do things, being afraid to like take risks, be afraid to do things by myself. Like I always felt like I needed to be reliant on someone for something or the other. Something sparked, I think, right in my 20s. I felt like this surge of inspiration from somewhere, I don't know where, but I just started like doing things out of the box. Like, everything that I've attained as a person, everything that I've become, the person that I've become today is a culmination of all the risks that I've taken over the years. And from the smallest thing to the biggest, it doesn't always have to be on a very grand scale. Just the decision to leave my country and come to the United States, that itself was a big risk. And I remember, when I was first applying, there were so many chances that this might not have worked out, that this might have gone some other way, and a lot of doubts and a lot of uncertainties. At the same time, something in me told me to just go do it. Sometimes you just have to push that inner critic away, that voice inside you that says maybe you can't do this, maybe this is not gonna happen, maybe what if, all these maybes and what ifs and what would happen if, all these things are voices within us that are trying to limit us. And sometimes it's not always internal. It can come from people around us as well. And sometimes it might just come from protection perspective, it might just come from people who haven't known any better, who have lived their life within like their boundaries or limits. It comes from different places and different people and within yourself. So you just need to identify why and where is it coming from. And sometimes you have to shut it all off and not think about the consequences, not think about what's gonna happen. Just do it. Like Nike is not even my sponsor, but do it. Like just go and do it. Go and take the leap of faith. Sometimes you just have to think less and to just do things. And when we just shut that inner chatter of ours, I think there's more amazing things that comes out of it. Now, not saying that you should not be mindful or you should not be aware, or you should not be cautionary. It's good to take calculated risks sometimes. Not everything has to be so dramatic, or you don't have to always like go and do things spontaneously or like be this risk taker. It's okay to be risk averse sometimes. It's okay to like plan things before you do anything. It's okay. Sometimes in life you just need to like just shut the inner voices and like just go for it. Just take the plunge, take the risk. just do it. Risk taking and taking challenges and doing things out of your comfort zone is just gonna make you a better person. You know, it makes you grow as a person, and also like sometimes it leads to some really great opportunities, some really great chances in life that you wouldn't have taken otherwise. So highly recommend it. Challenging yourself and growing out of it, because that's the only way to live life. I think living in a stagnant position, living a stagnant life, you're missing out on a lot of things. And if that's the kind of life you want to live, like missing out on things, and you're ignorant and you're like, I don't even care, like not even ignorant, you're just like, you just feel like that's how I want to live my life, I'm happy with things are at, I don't need to go and check out anything out of my comfort zone, it's okay, I just want to live a comfortable, happy life. Well, that's, I mean, you do you, right? But if you are someone who just is seeking something out of life, who wants to make a meaningful experience out of this life that we are living, if you want to go do things that, you know, makes you a better person, you are really invested in your self-growth, you want to be somebody that you can be proud of towards the end of your life, and you can just like look back at your life and just be happy and proud of the person that you have become and the things that you've done, you have to step out of your comfort zone, take challenges, go to things. And as I said, it doesn't have to be anything big. You can just start from something really small. Like maybe you're just afraid to like take a dance class because you think you look stupid in front of other people. Just book the damn class and just go and show up. Sometimes you just need to show the fuck up, okay? Okay, moving on. This is more of a note to myself, okay? I really am a person who gets inspired by people who have done things that I have always wished that I would do. You know, I've always gained a lot of inspiration from people, especially women of my age. I don't get a lot envious, and even if I do get envious, I think it just inspires me or sets me to fire to do things. I think it does help me in that way. It does fuel my fire, but at the same time, I also am this person who, like, in the process of doing that, tends to compare myself with other people. So I'm just like here and I feel really bad about myself. So that's not the place you want to be in. I've always been a late bloomer in my life, and I think there's nothing wrong with being a late bloomer. I'm not being the first person to go do things. You know, I was late for pretty much a lot of things in my life, but one thing that I'll say is that my journey is my own, and you know, no matter how late I start, I've always made sure that I do it and I do it good. That has always been my experience. What I've learned is that no matter how much late I got things, or like, you know, I was a late starter, I was a late learner, when I started doing those things, I always was better at those things. So what I'm saying here is that don't be afraid to let life go at its own pace. You cannot force things that are not meant to happen your own timing, okay? You cannot force your life to run parallel to lives of other people, your contemporaries around you or your friends around you. Everybody has a different set of pace, and one thing I've known, and I stress this to everybody, is like, you are not competing against anyone. No one is competing against anyone, like unless you're quite literally competing in a tournament or something, or in the Olympics. Everybody is at their own timeline, and it just works perfectly for them. So, you know, if you are not where you're supposed to be, like, you know, based on the set standards of the society, I'm speaking more to in the context of being a woman, because I think like women face more, I guess, like more pressure from the society for like getting married at a certain age, being a mother by a certain age. It's already a lot of work, just you know, it's just already a lot of things just being a woman by itself. You know, there's so much complexity involved in just being a woman. You know, you couldn't survive. I'm talking to you, fellow men. Just being a woman for one day is itself a difficult thing, and can't even imagine like, and all other expectations set by the society just make our lives 10 times harder than it needs to be. Eye rolls. Well, what I'm saying is that we should not be trying to like force things or like rush things just because we think it's about time, because who made these rules anyway? Sorry, my camera just moved. Who made these rules anyway? I want to know who came up with these rules. Like, who was the creator of these rules? Who told that women should get married by a certain age, otherwise her time is expired? I understand the biological part of it, I understand the scientific concerns surrounding it, but really, like, most of it is sometimes they don't even understand the entire context of all of these things to make the comments that they do. Like, oh, you're a woman, you're gonna get married late, you're gonna be a late bride, or like old bride or something. People make insensitive comments all the time, and it's not always coming from men here, okay? I'm not bashing men here, I'm not that girl, but listen, sometimes these comments come from our own female friends, some other women in our society. It just comes from women themselves, and I'm just like, really? What era are you in? Rachel? What are you, Rachel? No hate against Rachel. I know a couple of Rachels and they're really nice. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is like, listen, like no one is gonna hurry up, okay? No one is gonna rush us up. We're gonna do things at our own timing. So anyone who's coming after me, if you think I don't know that, you think I don't know what my age is for you to like highlight that for me, like hello. I think I'm aware when I was born. Thank you so much. I celebrated every other year, so I think I'm pretty aware of my age. So you don't really need to be telling me that. Just let your life flow like a river, okay? Have some planning, have a vision, but you don't need to like push it to work with a certain timeline, okay? No one has that authority to be able to give you a certain timeline, okay? You are the decider of that. So do not listen to what people say and don't compare yourselves to anyone else in this world. Lastly, so another thing that I want to talk about is like following your instincts. We are never taught by anyone to like follow our instincts. As natural beings, we think the first thing we all have in common, we all share in common is instinct. Instinct is, it's not something that is heavily focused, not taught to learn to listen to it, to use it in any sort of way. Those who are aware, for those who have a great amount of sensitivity, are somehow, they just stand out and they're they become empaths and healers in some capacity. But I really believe that we have that intuition, that level of gut feeling, what we call more commonly, in all of us, right? But I think we are not taught to listen to it more as we should be, because I think it's the first thing that we share with animals. I think all of, like, as natural creatures, we have it. All of us have it. It's not like some supernatural quality that just some of the people have it. Some people are more aware of it than some other people, and because they're aware of it, they are able to use it at their advantage, and that applies to me as well. But I didn't understand this, but when I was younger, I think I was very sensitive to my surroundings, and I used to pick up energies. I remember that now. I didn't understand it then at all. I didn't know what that was, and I couldn't really like place it. Nobody talked to me about using a gut feeling or instincts or anything like that, and so I just didn't understand what that was. I just picked up energies really quick. I could easily understand, like, even as a child, when someone was really upset, I could sense the vibe very quickly. I walked into a room, I understood who liked me, who didn't like me. I just knew it too well. I really didn't understand it for the really long time, and then it was like while 20s, when I was more spiritually inclined and I just learned about all these things, that's when I came to learn that, oh my goodness, I have this power that I think all of us have, really, but I am more aware of it, and I think I should be able to use this at advantage. But there are many times, because we are always taught to like listen to our logics a little bit more than anything else. Like, it's always like mind over heart, mind over anything else. So I always like doubted my instincts or my gut feelings, so to say. Really not followed it all of the time. Many times in such instances, where I have felt like, oh, this person, I don't something about this person throws me off. Then I would like just make an argument within myself, like through my logical standpoint, saying that, oh, why do I think about this person? It must be coming from because he looks a certain way, or he's acting, or he said this at one point in time. Maybe that's why I'm just like picking up. But really, I think what I was doing was I was actually picking up energies, like I always have. And then at the end of it all, somehow I would find out that that person is really not a good person. And I would be like, I knew it. I always knew it. But I'm like, I can't tell it to anyone else, because I was like, it was inside me. I didn't really voice it out. I am still at this point where I doubted quite sometimes, and I'm not that person who's always like listening to my instinct. I'm like, yeah, this is what exactly it is. So I always try to use my judgment. I give it more time to like suss things out. But what I've learned is it's so important to hear your instinct. Your body is sometimes telling you things that you don't know, okay? You can't easily pick up. We are not all like experienced psychologists, or we don't know how to read body languages. So in those instances, I think as just natural beings, our body sometimes gives signals if a person is good or bad, or is like trying to like harm us in some kind of way. I think your instinct will tell that. I'm sure we've all been in those moments where we just know, we just sense that the vibe is not right, when you are surrounded by some kind of like harm, maybe around a person that is not good for us, or like, you know, in some way our bodies will just tell that, and we don't really listen to it quite a lot. But the more we start doing that, I think the more filtered our relationships will be, and in better company. And I think it also will save us from a lot of different bad experiences and negative people in general. I've heard this like from a lot of people that, you know, that sometimes it's hard to tell if it's just like anxiety or like really your instinct. I think instinct or your intuitive knowing it's not anything that causes you nervousness, whereas anxiety makes you a little bit nervous. Like anxiety is usually coming from a place of fear, where you are more fearful, whereas like intuitive knowing, it comes from a place of a surety, of there's some kind of surety, whereas anxiety is more like there's some level of dubiousness with anxiety, I feel, at least in my experience. So I think that's a way that you can separate between anxiety as well as an intuition. It just comes with practice as well, where you're able to tell the difference between one from the other. At least from my experience, I felt like instinctive knowing is usually very sure, and it's not coming from a place of fear. Anxiety is like more fearful. I feel I'm just like frazzled in some way, you know, my heart is beating a little bit faster. That's how I can tell that it's anxiety and it's not my intuition. So those are wise words from a wise woman. For those who are listening up until now, I'm so grateful that you are. I hope that any of this was helpful in any way. You know, I started this channel not really planning anything. Like I didn't know where I would end up or where I would go, and you know, I just kept doing it. I'm still doing it. It's not big at all. It's like 100 something people subscribed, which is not a big audience. But I don't know if this video will reach more people. If it does, it's amazing. You know, I'm so glad. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. Make sure to subscribe. I don't know if I'm gonna post consistently here, but I try to do that. I've been trying to write a lot, so maybe I'll just start posting more poetries as well. Poetry, other stuff. That's all. Thanks so much. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Subscribe, share it with your friends, and come back. Ciao.